The last promise this story is about two best friends, Elias and Noah, who grew up together in a peaceful village in Switzerland. Although they were not brothers, everyone believed their friendship was stronger than blood. They shared every dream, every adventure, and every important moment of their childhood. As they grew older, life took them in different directions. But they made one promise that neither of them would ever forget. This is not just a story about friendship. It is a story about trust, loyalty, hope, and keeping a promise even when the whole world believes it is impossible. It reminds us that true friendship is not measured by how often friends meet, but by how deeply they believe in each other. So, let's begin the story. In a beautiful village surrounded by the snowy mountains of Switzerland lived two boys named Elias and Noah. Their village was small but peaceful, filled with wooden houses, colorful flowers during summer, and white snow during winter. Every morning, the fresh mountain air filled the streets, and the clear blue lake near the village reflected the tall mountains like a mirror. It was the perfect place for two adventurous boys to grow up. Elias and Noah were born only a few hours apart. From the day they learned to walk, they were always together. The villagers often joked that if you saw one of them, the other could never be far away. They walked to school together, played football in the fields after class, climbed hills, explored forests, and spent countless evenings sitting beside the lake talking about their dreams. They weren't related by blood, but their friendship was so strong that everyone called them the twin souls. Although they spent all their time together, their personalities were very different. Elias loved adventure. He was curious about the world beyond the mountains and dreamed of traveling across Europe with a camera in his hands, capturing beautiful places that most people never had the chance to see. Noah, on the other hand, was calm and kind-hearted. His greatest dream was to become a doctor so he could stay in the village and help the people who had watched him grow up. Even though their dreams were different, they always encouraged one another, believing that true friends support each other's goals. One warm summer afternoon, when they were both 10 years old, they walked to their favorite place beside the lake. There stood an old wooden bench where they had spent countless hours watching sunsets. That day, Elias looked across the peaceful water and said, "One day we'll grow up. We'll have different jobs and maybe even live in different places." Noah smiled but looked a little worried. Then how do we make sure we never lose our friendship? Elias thought for a moment before taking a small pocket knife from his bag. Carefully, he carved 2 letters into the wooden bench, E+N. Then he looked at Noah and said, "Let's promise each other something. No matter where life takes us, we will return to this bench on the first Sunday of every summer. Even if we live in different countries, we'll always meet here." Without hesitation, Noah shook his hand. "I promise." Years passed, and the boys became young men. As they had planned, Elias became a talented wildlife photographer. His work took him to forests, mountains, and remote villages all across Europe. Noah achieved his dream as well, becoming the village's doctor. Everyone admired him because he treated every patient with kindness and never refused to help anyone. Although they now live different lives, they never forgot their promise. Every first Sunday of summer, Elias returned home carrying stories of his adventures. He showed Noah photographs of snowy peaks, deep forests, and beautiful lakes. Noah shared stories about the babies he had helped deliver, the elderly people he had cared for, and the families whose lives he had changed. For many years, their tradition continued exactly as they had promised. No matter how busy life became, they always met at the old bench beside the lake. Then, one winter morning, Elias received an opportunity that every photographer dreams about. A famous magazine invited him to photograph one of the most dangerous mountain ranges in northern Europe. It was a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Before leaving, Elias visited Noah at the village clinic. "I'll only be gone a few months," Elias said with a smile. Noah hugged him tightly. "Be careful." Elias laughed. "When have I ever let danger stop me?" As he walked away, he turned around one last time and shouted, "See you at the lake this summer." Noah smiled and waved. Neither of them knew that these would be the last words they would share for many years. A few weeks later, terrible news spread across Europe. A massive avalanche had struck the mountain expedition where Elias had been working. Several climbers and photographers were missing. Search teams worked day and night. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Finally, the authorities announced that all the missing explorers were presumed dead. The entire village gathered to mourn. People placed flowers near the lake. Some even carved Elias's name onto a memorial stone. But Noah refused to believe it. Every time someone offered condolences, he gave the same answer. "No, Elias made me a promise, and he never breaks his promises." Summer finally arrived. On the first Sunday of the season, Noah woke before sunrise. Although everyone in the village believed Elias was gone forever, Noah quietly walked toward the old bench beside the lake. The morning air was cool, the mountains stood peacefully in the distance, and the lake was as calm as it had been when they were children. Noah sat on the bench and waited. Every few minutes he looked toward the path leading into the village, hoping to see his best friend walking toward him with his camera hanging around his neck and his familiar smile on his face. Hours passed. The sun climbed high into the sky and slowly began to set. But Elias never came. Before leaving, Noah took a small piece of paper from his pocket and wrote, "Dear Elias, I came today because I know promises matter. I don't know where you are, but I still believe you'll return. I'll be here next summer too." He folded the letter carefully and hid it beneath the old bench. The following year, Noah returned again, and the year after that. Every summer on the first Sunday, he came back to the same place. He waited from morning until evening, and before leaving, he wrote another letter for Elias. Some letters spoke about happy moments in the village, while others described difficult days when Noah wished his best friend were there to talk to. As the years passed, the small collection of letters grew into a hidden bundle beneath the bench. The villagers often saw Noah walking to the lake and quietly shook their heads. Many believed he could not accept reality. But Noah never argued with them. Deep in his heart, he believed that true friendship meant keeping your promises, even when no one else understood. 11 years passed. One rainy afternoon, an old man carrying a worn backpack slowly entered the village. His face was covered with scars, his beard was long, and his clothes looked as though they had survived countless harsh winters. No one recognized him. The stranger walked through the quiet streets until he reached the familiar lake. There he saw the old wooden bench with the faded initials E+N carved into it. His hands trembled as he touched the letters. Tears filled his eyes. The old man was Elias. Years earlier, after the avalanche, he had survived but had been trapped in an isolated mountain valley with no roads, no communication, and no way to contact his family or friends. A remote community had rescued him, but it had taken him many years to recover and finally find his way home. As Elias sat on the bench, he noticed a small metal box hidden underneath it. Curious, he opened it. Inside were 11 carefully folded letters. Every single one began with the same words, "Dear Elias." He read each letter slowly. With every page, he realized that Noah had never stopped believing in him. The final letter read, "If you're alive somewhere, remember this. Friendship isn't measured by time or distance. It's measured by faith. I'll always believe you'll come back." Elias could no longer hold back his tears. At that very moment, footsteps approached along the lakeside path. It was Noah. This year he had come a little earlier than usual. For a few seconds, Both men simply stared at each other. Neither could believe what they were seeing. Finally, Elias smiled and quietly said, "I told you I'd come back." Without saying another word, Noah ran forward and hugged his best friend tightly. 11 years of hope, sadness, and waiting disappeared in a single moment. The villagers were amazed when they learned the truth. They realized that Noah's faith had never been foolish. It had been the greatest proof of true friendship. From that day on, the old bench became known as the Promise Bench. People from many countries visited it, leaving letters for friends and loved ones as a reminder that real friendship can survive distance, silence, and even years of uncertainty. And the story of Elias and Noah was passed down through generations not because of adventure or fame, but because they proved that a true promise made between friends can outlive time itself.